in any event, this is what you've got to do for your law practice. Number one, you have to set your goals for your practice. How much money you want to make, the kind of area you want to practice, whether you want to practice alone, which I'm going to tell you, I think for most of us is not as fulfilling as practicing with other people. Now, Dave is there for you, but having someone else in your office that you can bounce things off to get your documents reviewed, to me, is critically important. And in fact, the number of solo practitioners compared to those who are in firms with more than one lawyer is actually diminishing, and diminishing rather rapidly. But number one, you've got to fix your goals. Two, you've got to make a realistic determination. Can my practice allow me to reach those goals? Am I going to get the intellectual satisfaction? Am I going to get the camaraderie that I want practicing with other lawyers? Do I feel I'm doing something good for my community? Is it going to give me the stature, both within the bar and in my community, in order to get in that practice, and can it be done? For example, you live in Utica, New York, and you say, I'm going to do estate tax planning work, and I'm going to make $1 million a year. I don't think so. You're not going to have enough people with a huge amount of wealth that you would need in order to charge enough to be able to cover your expenses and make $1 million a year. So you've got to be very realistic. But the first thing you got to do, I want to have my goals. Then, can my goals be achieved? And if your goals can't be achieved, you've got to make changes. You've got to say, I've either got to go into another area, or I have to redesign the model of my law firm. And there are basically 5 different models of law firms. One is you're a solo practitioner and you charge by the hour. And it's not terribly difficult to figure out at least your gross, if not your net in that, assuming you can accurately forecast how much business you have. And of course, what was going to happen is what you can be charged. And that brings me back to the fact that we've had this huge increase in the number of people delivering legal services. Increased supply should mean a reduction. You know what? The cost of legal services, what's happened to the cost of legal services since I got out of law school 40 years ago? It's gone up by a factor of 10. Now, wait a minute, Jonathan. You told us that the number of individuals rendering legal services increased by 5. We also have now the internet, LegalZoom, LDAs in California doing this legal work. So it's been more than a 5-fold increase in supply. The cost of legal services has gone up by a factor of 10. How can that be? What's the answer? What tells us what must have happened? There must have been an increase in demand. And there has been an enormous increase in demand. And do you know why? One of the reasons is the accelerating pace of new laws and regulations. Now, one of George Bush's campaign promises was, I'm going to reduce the proliferation of regulations issued by the federal government. His administration issued twice as many as any other administration. Doesn't mean it wouldn't have been worse under Al Gore or John Kerry, but that proliferation was enormous. And so people had greater legal needs. In addition, there's more globalization, and the other factor is attorney advertising. Attorney advertising does 2 things. One is hire me instead of her, but the other one is when you see these ads on TV, have you been injured in this kind of thing? You are telling people about rights that they may not know about, and also you're spurring that interest, and that increases the demand as well. I believe there is an unlimited appetite for legal services, and one of the real growth areas is going to be in elder law. A lot of reasons for that, but one of it is the graying of America. As people get older, and by the way, that's great news for everybody in the world, because not only is there going to be a bigger pool, you know what else is going to happen? They're going to live longer, and they're going to need legal services for a longer period of time. And even though they're going to come in and they're going to say, well, I've now done my estate plan, right, Judith? I'm done, right? Well, maybe you better come back in a couple of years, because the one thing you can guarantee is the law will change and your documents will have to be redone. This, to me, is a very interesting topic. Again, what determines the price of legal services? Supply and demand, like everything else in the world. And as a consequence, you need to be aware of it. But please do not get behind the curve change. The curve of change is one of the most important factors, and being here with Dave and getting systems like he does really is going to help you stay at least with that changing curve. Because, again, it's happening so rapidly, you're not going to be able to catch up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because we can help with that.